Welcome to another episode of the Knucklehead Chronicles podcast. This podcast was designed to let you know that you aren't the only one that took forever to get it together. So the rabbit hole that you have stumbled down will hopefully help you understand that just when you think it's over, it's only the beginning. Just because you were dealt a bad hand doesn't mean you have to keep it. Welcome to the Knucklehead Chronicles podcast.
And what's up? Good morning. Happy. I think today's Tuesday. Good morning to y'all. This is another episode of the. I can't talk today. Another episode of the Knucklehead Chronicles podcast. It is your man, the Guru Terry. You guys know me. That listen to the podcast. Thank you for joining me for another episode. Now, we're gonna get into another episode here because I want to talk about, because in my last episode, before we get into that, let me do my thing. I need for everyone that's listening to this, go to bs3tvlive.com. Go to their website. I want you to subscribe to that particular channel if you have a Roku device in your home. On Sundays, me, Kevin Peoples, Ernest Harris, and Quinn Stewart, we go live on that network at 2:30 Central Standard Time every single Sunday. You guys check that out. Our live shows, we just got back together, so we did our premiere episode, and then it was Mother's Day, and now this is episode 2 of the live show. We're going to talk about some interesting topics. We're going to talk about Casey and Vicky White. We're going to talk about a bunch of other things coming up. What's current. Roe v. Wade is a big one that's going to be a discussion, and we're going to get into it. So make sure you join us. It's a little bit different than what I do on the Origin series, because the Origin series is my story. The live panel is everybody else, with everybody else. So we're going to get into that. So here we go, y'all. We're going to get into Idaho year 2. Well, I kind of gave you all of Idaho in year 1, right? Which is, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Maybe I should have waited and give it to you in bits and pieces. But I can go back and cover up holes that I'm sure that I've messed up and not talked about. Now, I'm going to tell you how stupid I am before I get into this thing. I'm just going to tell you how stupid I was. You know, as men, you never know what level of stupid you're on until you realize you're on that level of stupid. So, now I'm going to flash you guys back all the way to 2016. Because 2016. And before me and Melissa even came out to Idaho, all right, we'll flash you all the way back. I know, it's almost 6 years removed, but we're gonna flash you all the way back to 2016. Me and Melissa were dating. We were dating long distance though, right? So she was in Illinois. She was living with her mother. I was in North Carolina, living in a hotel. Slumming it pretty good. I mean, I had a job, all that. And at this particular moment, this time, I had a pretty okay social media presence. I was on an app called Periscope. I don't think Facebook Live had went live yet. There was rumblings of it though, I think back in 2016. But Periscope, which was owned by Twitter, for those of you guys that are millennials and new heads. I'm sorry, not millennials, but the new generation folk probably don't know what Periscope was, but Periscope was owned by Twitter. And I met a whole bunch of people on Periscope. And I used to do some shows. Some people say I had a very seductive voice. I listen to myself every time I do it live, and I don't hear it, but some women do. So I had a lot of fans, and this is before, like I say, Melissa and I decided to be, to be together like permanently with the Idaho trip, the Idaho move. And so I had a lot of fans, and one fan in particular, she lived in Jersey, and she thought that I was going to come and visit her, and that was the plan. That was the plan. The plan was to, if I could be honest, that was the plan. The plan was to, see what it was with Melissa, and then go and visit this young lady and see what it was. You know what I'm saying? However, though, Melissa came, that was it. Once Melissa came into the game, it was all over. However, I still kept the memory alive of this young lady. You know what I'm saying? I kept that 1 foot, and I tell you, when we start doing that, you guys, we have to, which brings me to my first point. We have to learn how to absolutely slam doors in our life. We leave those bad boys cracked. You give the enemy the opportunity to sneak back in or get back in. So I did not close this door, and it was because I didn't want to close it. If I could be honest, it wasn't that I had some kind of mental block that kept me from closing it. It wasn't that if I could be real, it was the fact that the fact that I wanted to keep it open. I was interested. I was curious. You know what I'm saying? In this moment in my life, I had no idea what I was doing, man. I was kind of just going with the flow. I was going with what felt good in the moment. And Melissa was just at that time, she was my savior. She didn't know it, and I didn't know it either. But either way, I kept communication with this young lady, right? No way I shouldn't have, but I did, right? But I'm gonna speak my truth. I can't speak it in present tense because that's no longer the case. I can speak it what it was then, and I kept communication with her. So now, this is before she got married, because she got married too. You know what I'm saying? But this is later, and I was, at this point in time, I had already left the casino. So if you remember the last episode, I told you guys I was working at a casino, and I was a blackjack dealer and a pit boss. So I got released from that particular job in Nevada, and my next job after that was moving furniture for this moving company called Ford Moving Company out in Twin Falls. Shout out to Mallory and Miss McClymonds and Steve Schmidt-Call. So me and Steve and another young man went on a job up in the mountains of Idaho. This is where Bruce Willis lives. We was out that way, in the high red district. We were doing a move for a young man. And at this time, at this portion of the game, there's an app called Glide. I'm not even sure if Glide's still around. But Glide was one of those messaging apps, kind of like, I can't think of the name of the app now, but if you guys remember Glide was the one that introduced defacing messaging, to people. And so I was on Glide, she was on Glide, right? So I had Glide on my phone, and then I had an iPad, so I had Glide on my iPad. Now, when I went on this job, we were 3.5 hours out from where I live. So we were way out there, and I'm chatting with this young lady via Glide. Right? I hope you guys see where this is going. I was chatting with this young lady via Glide, and I was saying stuff like, I shouldn't have came out here, with Melissa. I should have, I just came to see her first, this and that and the third, right? Sending all these kind of crazy messages. And what I didn't realize until later was that my Glide login was linked to my iPad. So I had my phone with me, and my iPad was linked to the Glide too. So everything that I did on my phone transparent, especially when she responded. All of that went through on my iPad as well. So she retrieved and heard every single message that I sent this young lady via Glide on my iPad. Let that sink in for a second. Yeah, that was like that. And so, and it didn't really dawn on me. It didn't really dawn on me until, later. So I get ready to call her. So we take a lunch break, and I call her up. And the first thing I say is, "Hey, honey, what's going on? How your day going?" Da-da-da. Just play it off like it's nothing. To me, it was normal, right? But to her, it wasn't so much. And she says, "Hello." And I knew right away. Sometimes when you're used to hearing "Hey, babe," or "What's up, love," or whatever, and then it goes from that to "Hello," it's trouble, right? Guys, that's my second point. Listen to me. If something changes, if the rules change in the middle of the game, you better believe it. You better be able to recognize it, right? If she has responded to you in such a way for this long, for a while, and then she starts responding in a whole different direction, you need to check it. If there's any kind of change, I'm gonna need for y'all to go ahead on and take a look into it. I didn't, and I almost lost my wife. Well, she wasn't my wife then; we wasn't married then, but I almost lost her. So I caught we in this conversation, and I'm like, "Babe, what's going on? What's happening?" And she was like, "Hello." So how's your conversation with old girl going? She mentioned her name, but I won't do it here. But she was like, "How's that conversation going?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She says, "Honey," she says, "every message, every video that you're sending, I can see it." And all I could think, bruh, what the hell? You know what I'm saying? And so she was like, "Don't worry about it." And she was just as calm. She was just as calm as she wanted to be. She said, "Don't worry about it." She said, "Just when you get back, I have your stuff outside in the garage. You can pick it up from there. You can go wherever you want, do whatever you want. But I don't need that in my life." And that was it. Now, I'm 3.5 hours out. I want to argue. This was at the part of my life where I wanted to argue all the time. Just like, no. You're not gonna do this to me. You're gonna talk to me. You're gonna talk to me. And I'm sitting there. I'm going back and forth. I'm getting mad at her. It's typical man shit. Typical man shit. I get mad at her for checking me. Like, what? How?
Hey, bro, come on now, dog. Come on, man.
How do I get mad at her for checking me for being in my nonsense? How does that even work? Right? But that was that man shit I was on, that misogynistic, toxic bullshit that I was on. And, I tried to argue with her for like hours. But it was kind of hard to argue with her because I was at work. And she stopped communicating. And it was easy for her to start communicating because I was at work. I was 3.5 hours away. I wasn't in the phase. And so we finally get done with the job. We get in the truck and we're coming back to Twin Falls. And so we talk. I call her. And she says, "No, Terry, you should have told me that you felt this way. And we wouldn't have done this. And I was like, well, I don't think it was this. I mean, I was on such bullshit back then. I often ask myself, how the hell did I survive this long? How have I survived this life for 47 years on the bullshit that I was on back then? It was crazy. Like, I should have been dead. Somebody should have shot me in the face a long time ago. But that's neither here nor there, and I'm thankful that nobody shot me in the face. But But I could understand. And so that moment with that situation was just the scariest because honestly, at that moment, I had nowhere to go. I had people, I call people, because I'm thinking, oh, I'm just going to get on the plane and I'm just going to get my stuff because I didn't have anything. I'm just going to get my stuff and I'm going to go and just go back home, back to North Carolina and just restart and all that. When in the back of my mind, I knew darn well I didn't want to go back home because I don't want to hear all those people saying, I told you so. And you got people in your life that's going to do that. They're waiting. They're waiting to hear you. They're waiting to hit you with that, I told you so. That's life. That's just what that is. They're waiting to hear, or they're waiting to drop the I told you so on you. But you can't give them that opportunity. You know what I'm saying? So I begged my way back. And she let me back in. But like I said in the last episode, how many times are you going to do that before you burn every single piece of the bridge? How many times do you think that you're going to lie to her? How many times do you think you're going to cheat on her before it's over? But every time you do it, like I said in the last episode, every time you do it, it takes a piece of her. This is something that I had to learn. I'm not versed. I wasn't versed in it. I mean, I've been on this planet for 47 years. However, I wasn't versed on certain things, and I didn't know that I was totally destroying what we had. Trust was gone, love's gone. It took a while. But again, and then again, on top of that, we weren't married yet, so there was no obligation. Both of us could have dipped on each other, but I believe that there wasn't nobody dipped on each other. Nobody dipped on each other because of Terry Jr. I really believe that, and I don't know. I think that's more so me than her. I think she is a very strong woman, and she's very innovative. I mean, inquisitive. If she wants to do something, she's headstrong. She can make it happen. Don't need a man for that. But all this stuff, I had to learn it. And so that was the first major incident that was just like, you stupid, like you just stupid, like how you didn't know that the messages on the phone through the same app that's on your iPad was going to go through on the iPad. It's really stupid. That incident happened again, but that's neither here nor there. As I close this episode out, I just, I want people to understand that, you get one shot, man, sometimes two. And we have to learn how to make better choices. You can't call them mistakes. And I used to say that all the time. I used to be like, oh, baby, I made a mistake. No, wasn't a mistake. That was an all-the-way choice that I made in good conscience. But a lot of men won't admit that. They won't admit the fact that they made a bad choice. They won't admit that. They rather beat the dead horse of, oh, it was a mistake, babe. It was a mistake, babe. It doesn't work that way, fellas. It don't. But moving on, we got past it eventually. I got past it during that instantly. It took my wife a year, maybe two. And there's still times where she struggled with those past infidelities because I've done things to compact and impound it. I've been a lot better. I've been a lot better and done a lot better. But it doesn't. It takes time of doing the right shit to outweigh the time of the bad shit. If that makes sense. So if I've been shitty for 4.5 years, I can't be good for 6 months and think it's gonna be okay. It's not. you know. And so that's what we are. That's what the fuck we are. We, you know, we have our struggles, but we do love each other, and we're willing to fight. We're actually in therapy together right now. You know what I'm saying? Because everything. So she's the love of my life. I do anything in the world for her. She knows it. Yeah, there's that. Yeah, I think that's all I have on this episode. But you know, Idaho, that whole experience, you know, I can go year in and year out on the situations that happen in Idaho. It was just so many dumb things that I've done, things that we experienced together. And maybe I might explore those in upcoming episodes. But Idaho was definitely a different experience, especially for me being black and living in a state that's predominantly white. That was interesting. My job was interesting. I met some interesting people. But maybe I think I'm going to explore the Idaho section of our relationship. But my message is plainly this: is that don't waste your time worrying about something that's not in your face. If that makes sense. Don't waste your time worrying about things that's not in your face. If it's a situation, if you're blind, if you're juggling two people, or if you're juggling two situations, you can't worry about what's not here. You know, and you have to make a informed and educated decision before you make any moves. One thing about people, me, I'll speak on me. I don't know about everybody else, but I'll speak on me. I struggled because I just knew I had it figured out. When I ain't know jack crap about my life. I ain't know jack crap about me. I didn't know what made me happy. I didn't know what made me tick. I was just living. I was just living for the moment, in the moment. You know, at some point, you have to come to some kind of self-awareness about you. And I didn't do that until it was too late, or almost too late. But I've been blessed. And she's, like I said, she's stuck by my side. I'm not sure how long, I'm not sure, probably reluctantly, still by my side. Purely, I'm not saying it's purely out of obligation, but, you know, she's not obligated to me, even though we are married now. There's no obligation there. If she wants to seek her king, I can't do nothing about that. But I have to understand at the same time that I caused every syllable, every inch, every heart palpitation of that situation. If I perpetuated that was me. And that's what I got to realize that I'm at that place to where I realize that. So don't let it get too far. Don't get too far before you do what needs to be done. Don't take it for granted. All right. We're going to explore Idaho. There's so many different stories. That's not the only. That's only the first one. There's so many different stories of Idaho. We'll get into. But in the meantime, in between time, you guys have a great rest of your day. We'll see you on the next episode. Peace.
Thank you for listening. I hope I didn't fry your brain too bad. Come back through and give me another chance. You can listen on all platforms and visit us at Knucklehead Chronicles Podcast.podbean.com. Until next time, in the words of the incomparable Jerry Springer, take care of yourself and each other.